Today is going to be a special episode in this Build a City challenge. Not only are we going to meet a new character, but meeting this character also means we open up the second phase of this challenge, meaning scavenging in subhoods, exploring all dependent areas that are a bit further away from the settlement. There's all sorts of cool stuff that they can find here, but as you can imagine, walking to these subhoods is very time consuming and dangerous. So we will have to make choices in where the survivors are going to spend their time and efforts. So far, this is what we have seen of this neighborhood. We have seen the quarry from the first episode, the edge of the forest from the third episode, and there is one lot left that we haven't seen yet, which we are going to visit today, the old fields and barn. But if you go left, past the forest, past the quarry, and follow the road, you come to the next area and you will find a sinister and mysterious looking gas station. If you would continue even further down that road, you walk into the first area with buildings to explore and scavenge, which is a dense forest along both sides of this long road. And dice rolls are going to decide which of these buildings we are going to find first, and which unique items we are going to find there. But more about that later, because first we are going to look at how our survivors woke up this morning. We ended the previous episode around 2 AM and our survivors have been taking turns to get some sleep in the beds and working through the night. John worked on his much needed nature skills. He started tending a small garden of vegetables and harvesting berries from the nearby bushes, and he gained his skills shortly after 3 AM. He was close to passing out again after that, so he ate some mushrooms and then went to sleep for some well-deserved rest. Kennedy has turned out to be one of the most productive members of this community, and in all honesty, he really surprised me. I'm not sure why, but I've just never seen him as such a community-oriented guy. Maybe it's just that the fishing is something he can do on his own without being bothered by the others too much, and he still gets to come home at the end of the day as sort of a hero, bringing home all the food. He hung all the recently caught fish to dry on the drying rack, or at least the ones that would fit on there, and he then went inside to put the rest of the fresh fish in the fridge, so Brandy can continue making her meals from there. We now have 516 food points, which is really nice and should last us for at least a few more days again. We then woke up Melissa, who is looking into some old appliances to see if she can find ways to use them in new technologies. Her tinkering is also going to give us Dee Dee's woodworking bench when she reaches 5 points in her tinkering skill. That one is really one of the top priorities right now, since it will give the community another way of working on their mechanical skill while making useful items in the meantime, so I'm really looking forward to that. She threw a fit not being able to reach the appliance in a messy shed, which reminded me that we really need to start cleaning up the mess around the settlement, because with all the new activities that they can do, we will start to run out of space very soon. She then continued tinkering with the appliance for the rest of the morning. Kome had been working through the night, cutting the logs into planks so we can craft new items in the morning, and as John was munching on his mushrooms, I wanted to send Kome to bed, but I was too late, so he passed out quite dramatically on John's feet, who sat there looking unimpressed. He did finish all of the items we needed, so when it comes to crafting, we can cross off a few achievements on the list and some necessary items that we needed. But all of the crafting we will see later today. John then went inside to finish drafting the scene that he had started, so the drawing table would be available for Brandon to work on his creativity skill. But John's mood was way too low and he had only taken a short nap instead of a good sleep, so he was way too exhausted to actually finish that, and he went back to bed. All the while we let Goopy sleep in because, well, I was feeling guilty, and he deserved it after the first 2 days of completely forgetting about his needs, working so hard and almost letting him die. Around this time it was also becoming quite clear that their bad hygiene, hunger and lack of social interactions between chores was starting to work on their moods. And none of the Sims had fulfilled even a single want, so their aspiration meters were dropping quickly too, causing some immature behavior and fights breaking out. Around 5:30 in the morning, Brandy served breakfast and everyone gathered around in the kitchen to fill their bellies and get ready for the day ahead of us. In the first 2 days, we had collected 17 buckets of water, and some of these Sims hadn't washed themselves since Monday. We took out 5 buckets of water and let a few Sims take a sponge bath that either most deserved it or that were not going to do physical labor immediately after, because they would get dirty again anyway. And we also needed the water for throwing pottery with the pottery wheel, so we couldn't use all of the buckets. So I selected Brandy, Kennedy, Goopy, Brandon and Abhijit to treat themselves to the luxuries of a water bucket. After all of these preparations, it turned 7 AM, so now is really the time to start the new episode. It's also time for the dice roll, and 7 AM also meant that it was time to cash in that long-awaited achievement of sending 2 Sims with 3 points in nature on a hike together. So even though John was really tired, he let Christy convince him to get out of bed and join her on a walk to find out what lies along the road to the west. When John and Christy approach the gas station at about half an hour walking distance to their settlement, they have no idea what they are going to find inside. Of course they are cautious, but they are also curious, and they realize that inside the building could also be items that might be of use to them. And of course they see the car, and they realize that the car actually looks like it's working and there might be people inside. So they do what any sane sim would do. They play rock, paper, scissors to see who goes in first. And of course, John admires Christy for following her intuition and convincing him to come out here. Okay, so it seems that Christy has won. So let's have John go in first. He is going to check out this car. There's really a lot of cool stuff to be found here. Like we've got this area, which is like an old workshop with lots of items that we can actually use. We cannot take anything. We'll come to that later, but we cannot take anything from here. So it looks like really promising, but it's going to be a challenge to actually get one of these items. Because we have to befriend the one that lives here, and we have to trade items with him. So yeah, let's go into the gas station. So yeah, this is the general layout of the building. So let's have John go in here. Of course, we saw that Eli fled to the back area, but he is back in his chair right now. So, yeah, they should be able to meet each other. So let's greet Eli. He seems a lot less scared than he was before. So yeah, let's try and have a conversation with him. We have to assume that Eli is, even though he seems alright right now, he is a very unpredictable person. So they do want to sort of tread lightly around him. I think that Christy would also like to greet Eli. Let's see if her conversation is going to go a bit better. And I just love how John comes back and stands behind Christy, all protective, ready to jump in if needed. But then when he sees that Eli is much more comfortable around Christy, so he's like, yeah, you got this, I'll be outside, I'll be around the corner. Yes, I think Christy's approach is a bit sweeter than John's, and I think she's just generally better at relating to how he sees things, or at least tries to be. So if we rewind that conversation and watch it again, we can see that John starts offering his help immediately, talking about some skills or things that he could help Eli with. And Eli's like, yeah, but can you help with the big wizard stealing my beer? Or, you know, something to that extent. So I think John is a bit startled by that. He's shocked and he's like, okay, I have no idea how to deal with this. Christy? So when Christy starts talking to him, she asks him what he's been doing since the big disaster struck. And he's like, what disaster? The sun is shining. What are you worried about? Let's go camping or something. And I think that she just goes with his story and instinctively feels that it's better not to contradict him. So that works a lot better on him. And they talk about the weather and some small stuff. And she's just really trying to comfort him and to make him feel at ease. We are going to... No, we're definitely not going to dance together. We are going to chat again. I think someone turned on the radio. My idea with this was that this radio can actually be used because there is a generator. But of course there's no frequencies where music is still played. So whenever Eli listens to the radio and hears music, it's actually that static sound that that you hear when there's no frequency. So yeah, I thought that was a funny picture. Like Eli hears music while Christy and John just hear this static noise that is driving them crazy. So yeah, maybe after their conversation, she can, well, she's not going to attempt to turn off his radio. They don't want to scare him or anything or insult him. She actually does really get along with him, so that's really good. I think by now, after their... there we go. That was the bad part of the conversation. So I think after this, yeah, Eli's just going to walk away. They are going to go back home and report to the others what they have found. yeah, so let's go and do that. But before we leave, let's do a quick tour of the gas station. As you can see, it keeps spawning the other survivors that are not here yet. So this is the side of the road that they walked in here. So we've got the forest back there, and further down the road is the survivor settlement that they came from. This is Eli's pickup truck. He also has one in his inventory whenever they want to bring him along on one of their scavenging runs. Of course, if they are friends, that is, they cannot use that ability unless they are friends. So there's all sorts of trash items again all around the back, but there's also some useful items like fuel. They're going to need fuel in the future. Tires they can maybe use, but back here we've also got some coffee and some other items stashed that we might be able to use in crafting. Then inside the building we've got really a few general areas. So we've got the workshop on this side, which really holds the most of the useful items that we might want to get later on. There's also a fan, because there's several fans, because in Fallout I always take the fans for crafting. They've got gears in them, and that's useful for a lot of things. This is the part of the old gas station where customers used to come and sit down and maybe get a coffee or something, or a burger, or it's obviously it hasn't been used in a long time. There is a dartboard, so Eli did have something to keep himself entertained, that and his imaginary friends, I think. On this side there's even a few more Fallout items. An ironing board, don't ask me why, he doesn't look like he's been ironing his shirts, but you never know. And the thing that has been keeping him company most, I like to think that since he lives down this road, not a lot of traffic came by, but during all of the events that led to the apocalypse, a truck full of beer crashed nearby, and he had like a life supply of beer and liquor or something. So here are these really old, trashy and kind of dirty looking cabinets. So this gas station belonged to his father. His father died long before this all happened. He inherited the gas station, but he didn't really feel like working here. He was kind of lazy, so people came by. He helped them, but not with a smile or anything. He just hoped that they would leave again soon. So the kitchen has been here ever since, and we don't really know what he's been living on. He has been eating, but we don't really know what he's been eating. This toilet doesn't work. He seems to be forgetting about that. He might be doing that regularly, still peeing in the thing. This is the actual bucket that he can clear out outside. The toilet is clogged and there's no running water. And then we have his bed, where he keeps himself company, reads whenever he feels sober enough to do so, and a few bottles of wine. So that has really been his life all this time, and a sad life that is. And really anyone would go sort of insane if they had to live like this, I think, for months and months on end without seeing anyone. Surrounded by all of the old items, all of the old possessions of his father, where he's never even gotten over the loss of his father. So so this is obviously outside is the part of the old gas station, and it would make more sense to turn one of these around, but they were facing the road on one of the pictures that I used as inspiration. So that's the gas station, and that's Eli. We are going to leave him alone for now, and he has been surviving on his own for months, maybe even years. We don't know. So I'm sure he will be fine if we leave him and go back to the settlement, and we can maybe check in on him later. Meanwhile, back at the settlement, it's back to the normal order of daily business. John and Christy should be coming home soon, and the scavenging crew is getting ready to examine the old cornfields today. And they will be gone for at least 8 hours when they do. So let's see. Brandy is just going to pick up some laundry because she is getting ready to go to the cornfields later on. And I think we should wake up Marilena, or she's already awake. As leader of the scavenging crew, she really decides, oh, John is home. I guess he came home early. I'm sure that Christy will be right behind him. Marilena, as sort of leader of the scavenging crew, she decides when it's time to start going on their next scavenging hunt. If there is enough time, it would be really nice if they could clean this mess up a little bit before they go. And Marilena is stocking the pottery wheel with water, so that when Christy comes home and is a little bit rested, she can start working on her pottery. Oh, and Christy, that's probably the reason why she fell behind a little bit, because John was home early. She found a spider, a grey widow spider. Great. Does she have a collection now? She does. Okay. So yeah, the station has 15 water in total now. Okay, so how much water did I put in there? Let's report on the stocked items. And it's almost 9 a.m, so they should be getting ready to leave. 15 clay and 15 water. That's perfect. So there really are a lot of stocked items for Christy to work with. That's great. So yeah, I think most of them are ready. Please don't do this. Sandy can fill in the last few holes. And while Brandy has to wait for Marilena and the others, she can tend the plants. And I think, yeah, let's have Marilena help her. Just until Brenda and Sandy finish cleaning this up. There. She's actually really fast. That's good to know. And I'm not going to let Brenda take a shower because she is probably going to get dirty again when we're at the cornfields. So that's why. Okay. So as soon as Brandy and Marilena finish their gardening, we are going to go to the cornfields. Yeah, so we're ready to go. So these are the 4 that are going to go. We'll meet them there. So yeah, I guess by now you sort of know the drill. We are going to set up camp here, spend 8 hours to scavenge for items. And there's one thing different about this lot that wasn't there in the quarry or the forest, is that there are actually items that they can find here. So I did build this lot a while ago, so I don't remember everything that I put here, so there might be some surprises in there. So yeah, this is the 3rd lot in the main hood and the last one. After this, it's really completely abandoned and there's nothing there. They can use the entire area to build their houses and their shops once they start building and building their town. But yeah, let's do a short tour of this area. So you might have seen it in the neighborhood view, but it's not visible from here. But there are fields like all the way from here to the other side, where there's to the other side of the road, like to the corner there. So the only thing we can really see is some corn fields, corn stalks right here, and some fields, some grass. Then we have this area, which is more of an enclosed garden area where they have more corn, and obviously nobody has been keeping this, so it's abandoned. Nothing is growing here. It's not like they can harvest everything and they have extra food. We might use this lot in the future but for now it's just something that they discovered. It's really around the corner from the survivor settlement. You can see the dumpster out here and the fish wreck back there. So yeah, this is the survivor settlement, so it's really down the road and really close by. There is some old haystacks and stuff that they can use, and more importantly, there is a well. So there is water on this lot, which was in the past obviously used to water the fields and everything. So this is a working well, or at least they can find water in here. I do like to add some restrictions to that though. They cannot like bring home infinite amounts of water. So I thought that once per day would be like reasonable, and they can get a maximum of 20 buckets. And of course they will also have to bring that home. We can see that the needs are not yet met for every one of them. So we have to take care of them a little bit before they can actually start working here. And in order for us to do that, we need to set up camp. I thought this area down here would be a good spot for that. They can also bring home hay bales. Hay bales from a stack like this cost money. And since we are using simoleons as crafting points, I think we could bring home a few. And there are all kinds of herbs down here. And I really haven't read up on any of their uses. I know you can use them in tea and stuff, but I thought it would be fun to I kind of just put them in for visual purposes, like to make things pretty. And they're really, even if you're not using their function, they're so pretty. So I could really recommend getting those, even if it's just for building and making your foliage areas like more realistic. I really love the way these, especially these two, the eagle wood and the blood moss, and the third one, the seed bush. I really love how they look. And of course in the future they are going to discover that they can also use them in tea and stuff. But for now they're just decorative. I'm not going to let them gather anything from it. That is something they will start doing in the future. So yeah, this lot is abandoned, just like the other two lots were, the quarry and the forest. But we can see signs of how they used to live here. So there's a big water storage, not usable, there's no water in there, and an old barn. And of course you gotta have a rat barn. There's no survival game or zombie game or series or anything without a red barn, so you gotta have a red barn. And we are going to pretend that we didn't see that it's floating, because I couldn't get it down on the ground where I wanted it to, because it's of course from neighborhood view and it's not actually on this lot. So we're gonna ignore that. And there are some tools and things hidden around this lot, so we are going to find some stuff. So yeah, let's set up camp and let's get started. Of course, Marilena has the tent and the sleeping bags. Yeah, and lastly, there is of course this shed, and behind there we have an archery range. So they are going to craft one themselves when they come home and have the hay bales and a few other items. So they are going to craft one for on the settlement, but while they are here they can actually use this one. So while the others are scavenging and searching for items, I think Brenda is going to practice her archery. So, and then lastly, we of course have the inside of this shed with all of the goodies. And we are definitely going to bring home a few of these items. So this is where the inventory management and rules come in. They are going to scavenge. So they are already going to find all kinds of crap. The ones with a backpack, I'm going to give them a backpack again, so you can see who the scavengers are. So all of the survivors have a survivor type. Brandy, Marilena are the scavengers. Sandy is an academic. and Brenda is a miner. So they technically did not roll for the skills that the scavengers did. So scavengers, for example, they roll for a cooking skill, and the woodcutters and the miners don't. So all of the skills are represented within the survivor types, and that's how we made sure that at least there's a few skill points in every action that we needed to do on the survivor settlement for their survival. Let's give them their backpacks. There, so of course Brandy's had to be a little cuter than the other one. So that means that the ones with the backpack actually have 3 pages of items that they can bring home. So, of course, Marilena is already carrying a lot of items and they have to bring home the tent. Brandy is already carrying all kinds of greenery that they found and that they haven't planted or used in the food yet. But the others are mostly empty. Brenda took some mushrooms and blueberry snacks with them, so they can all have a snack when they get hungry. And Sandy is carrying a female closet because I couldn't get that out of the inventory without selling it. So yeah, let's just ignore that one. But it is there. So yeah, especially Sandy, she can have a lot more items to carry. 2 pages. Brenda also 2 pages. And then Brandy and Marilena can have 3 pages because of the backpack. So 8 extra items, and that means all stackables count as 1 slot. So yeah, let's get started. So Sandy is going to dig for treasure, and so is Marilena. And what this actually means is they are, I'm going to let them dig there. That makes much more sense. What this actually kind of represents is that they would rummage through the old barn and see if they can find items there and behind the buildings, inside the building. So that's actually what what it's representing. Of course, they might also find things if they dig in the ground, but mostly, yeah, that's what I would like that to be. So Brandy went straight to the archery thing, which I did not intend to. Let's go use the chamber pot and then get the water that we need. 20 buckets. It started to rain. I'm not sure if they actually have the means to build a fire on this lot, so if they get too cold, we should really go home because I don't want them to actually get sick. Yeah, and when Brenda's ready talking to Sandy, we're gonna let her eat some berries, and she's carrying the mushrooms, which they don't work through that action, so she can eat the mushrooms. Yeah, so I think that after Brenda is done with eating her berries and her mushrooms, as long as they are here, I think they are allowed to get a bucket of water and wash themselves. And when she's done that, her needs are mostly up again. So she can take the rest of the afternoon to practice her archery, which is going to level up her mechanical skill. She already has 4 points in mechanical. But the more the better, right? Okay, we're having some issues with the chamber pot. I did check out the mod where you can you can download a mod where that says you can pee anywhere. It mostly works for the males. They have the animation on there. it looks just like it looks when they actually go to the bathroom. But for the females, they do this sort of squat, and they do it very quick, so they don't really empty their bladder. And there was something wrong with the blurriness, so we're back to the chamber pot. But at least they can relieve themselves, so I guess that's good. Maybe we can put it behind the shed. It feels weird to kind of be in the bushes that they are going to harvest later. So let's try it behind the shed. Yeah, that's better. So Brenda is nearly peeing her pants now, but it does work, so that's good. So when Brandy's finished, we can we can let her start on examining the shed. And we're going to look at the items that can be found there. And let's see, Brenda can use this, then get the water. Did she get it? Oh, she already got the water. So use that, wash herself, and then continue with the archery. There we go. So now everybody is doing what they should be doing. So let's go into the shed and examine that. Of course, we have to wait until the end of the day to see how much room we still have to take things home. But there are a lot of items that can be found here. So we've got sacks of grain, a second jar for when we want one of the Sims to go bug hunting, crates of wine, which technically would still be fine after a few years, sacks of rice, shovels, pitchforks, and hoops for crafting, flour, and fertilizer. And on the other side of the shed, we've got a few planks, a door, and a log slab. So generally just items that we can use for crafting, and a preserves jar. So you might have seen that there's also a like a cooking jar for preserves on the gas station lot. So we actually have two options here. We can see if we have enough inventory space and take it from here, or we could go back to Eli, which I think Brandy would really do. I think if John comes home with a story like that, she would want to meet him. So we might do that and trade the cooking pot, which I'm sure Eli is not using. We can trade that for some food items maybe. So we actually have two options for that. And then on the outside we have a few more items. So we have this thing, which I think was used for drying either cocoa beans or vanilla or something like that. Butter churning thing, and another fertilizer sack again. We are definitely going to take the fertilizer because we still have that grain field, and I think that would be, it's still spring, we still have a few days left to actually fertilize that. So wait, why are you not okay, she's upset because it's raining. Just eat a few more berries. I'm sure that'll help, and then she can continue practicing the archery. Yeah, so back to Brandy. So we have the fertilizer sack, which means that we can actually stack a few more of those, which are in here. So let's grab this one, and I think there should be a few more, yeah, down here. Let's grab this one. And the bottom one. Yeah, I think Brandy would really like to take the flour, but we'll see what she ends up bringing home. Is she going to like join Brenda? Okay. I don't know, she was going to admire her, so let's let her do that. She's like, yeah, you're really good at that, but please let me. So Brandy's gonna come here. It would be nice to maybe work on her skills too. But when she comes home, she's of course the one with the best cooking skills. So we want her to cook food. So she can't be too tired. So let's give her some of the mushrooms. So she can eat those. And then maybe take a quick nap. So she's well rested, fully fed, and fully cleaned when she comes home, and she might also spend some time socializing with the others. Let's see if she can get into the tent. So yeah, let's continue with the scavenging and see what they can find in a few hours. Let's see what is happening here. Oh, she got... Oh my god. Oh no. She got hit by lightning. Oh, that's not good. Did she pee herself? Yep. She peed herself. So now she's all dirty again and... Poor Brenda. Oh, poor Brenda. Yeah, of course there was a chance of that happening. What are you doing? Oh, right, she was getting the water. Yeah, we are going to get another bucket of water to clean her up. I mean, technically it's raining, so they could just wash themselves in the rain, right? Yeah, and then come here. Let's just say that she is washing herself in the rain. I really feel it's okay to just get a bucket of water out of a source like that whenever it's raining. I mean, they could just wash themselves in the rain, so it makes sense. Have a few more berries. And then just join Brandy in the tent for a bit. Oh, a treasure chest! Isn't it always Sandy who finds the treasure chests? That's our third one. And I'm really, if you're if you're wondering if I do this, like I go into the lot, I try it, and if it doesn't get a good outcome, I go back and I do it again. I don't have time for that. I don't do that. We are just really lucky with the treasure chests. I love it. Yeah, third one. Great. This thing is really interesting. Could they use this without electricity? Is it something that like works on batteries? Because the radio earlier in the episode, I think I said it works on a generator, but obviously it works on batteries. So I think that could be a really cool thing where they can find batteries, so they can, like items like this, small appliances like this, they can actually use, but it's like sort of they have to be careful with it because the batteries will run out, so they don't use it like all day. But this, if this would work, that would really be cool because Brandy and John have the hobby of music, and we have no way of of letting them work on their hobby, because like the reward for getting 5 points in music is that they can actually craft a musical instrument. So we cannot use the musical instrument to get those 5 points. You see where I'm going? So there are other ways to find musical instruments or to find a new sim, a new survivor who has a musical instrument on him or her. But yeah, until that time, we cannot use that hobby. And this would be a really cool way to use that. And I was curious about this. The straight molded belt runs along the bottom of your walls. Okay, so it's a building. Well, we can use that in crafting. And a few maps again, which are useful. Some food items. Yeah, it's not a bad day actually. They can go for maybe another hour. Yeah. Let's have them stop at 6:30 because they took a lot of breaks. And yeah, they should return home. It's really close by. They should return home around 7. They should be home around 7. Yeah, so I always forget to actually let them sleep. So we're going to let her chat with Brenda. Yeah, so one more item and then we're gonna call it quits. And we have officially exhausted this lot too for the scavenging and digging for treasure. Yeah, so that's it. We're going to quit. We're going to divide the items and see how much space we have left for the items in the shed. So there we go. We're not going to do this every time, but this time, since there were so many items that we could get, I thought it would be, we'll make it too easy on ourselves if we would just bring everything home. So this is all the more crappy items and a tree that we are not going to bring home. Sandy has exactly 2 pages of items, and so does Brenda. And Marilena has 3 pages of items, and Brandy also has 3 pages of items, but she has 1 slot left. So the others are going to eat the mushrooms and the berries, and Brandy is going to make 1 more stop in the shed to pick out an item. And I really think that the item should be the cooking pot, because it's Brandy, she is the one making the choice. Yeah, it's either that or the washing board. So let's see. Yeah, we're going to grab the washing board because they picked up so much laundry and they still have to work on ways to actually wash their laundry and get that sorted so it's not so messy back at the settlement. So yeah, it's 7 o'clock. It's time to go home. Let's see if they have finished all of the food that we had to leave behind. I think they are. There's one. Is this empty? No. Okay. She could just eat that. So yeah, if we want to do this again, we would probably take one scavenger who starts digging for treasure and then go back another day so they can actually bring the items that are on the lot. Or we might change the rules to 4 pages for the scavengers, so they have 2 pages extra compared to the other survivors. Yeah, I'll try and figure that out. Leave it in the comments if you have an opinion on that. And we are going to end the episode here. It's time to go home. As always, I want to thank you for spending time with me, following these survivors on their way to rebuild society in a new world. I hope you have a good week, and I'll see you next time. Bye!